Hi there. When life gets away from you, sometimes your plants suffer a little bit. Let me show you what I've got going on. So here are some of my pepper plants. You can see I've got some out there that I've already moved up, and life just got away from me. And these poor babies, most of them are pretty root bound. They, bless their hearts, have been trying to set lots of blooms. I've got some that have even set peppers. And it's too early for them to be doing all that. They're not big enough. I really need them to be focusing still on growing. So what happened is, one, I started these probably at least 2 or 3 weeks too early. And then I did not have time or resources to move them up from these 3.5-inch pots to something like this, when they were getting big like this, and it was too early to plant them outside. So you can see we've got a little bit lighter colored leaves on some of them. Some of them have some kind of odd branching going on. Those might be some of the ones that I tried cutting off at the top. I can't remember. And like I said, lots and lots of them have been putting on lots of blooms. Some of them have been making peppers. And some of them have also shown some additional kinds of stress, like these look really, like the leaves look really small. And I don't know if that's just the variety or if they're just that stressed. There's also been a few where the leaves, I don't know if you can see that on here, have turned a little bit of like a purple tone. That's usually like nutritionally, they're not getting what they need. The watering might be inconsistent. They've also had a lot of fungus gnats crawling around in their potting mix, so that's also not helpful. So here's what's happening now. I'm going to move them all up into these bigger, probably like a 4-inch or 4.5-inch pot, I think, 4.5-inch pot. So it'll give it some more room, not tons more, because reality is these are probably going to be planted outside within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Central Ohio right now, the next 2 weeks looks like it would probably be safe. After tonight, looks like is the last night that we are in the high 40s. After that, we're always looking like on the weather that we will be in the 50s at night, and they should be okay with that. But it's also Ohio and still April, so there have been freezes or hard frosts late April, early May. So I'm going to kind of wait a little bit till I can see a little bit further into May on the weather report before I actually plant them outside. But we are going to go ahead and give them some more room, let them see if we can get them a little healthier. Plus, I need these pots to finish potting up tomatoes. So I'll show you that in a couple minutes. But basically the process for potting things up is the same no matter what you're doing. One quick exception with tomatoes and peppers, I am going to bury them as far as I can. And this part of the stem will put out eventually some roots into here. And that's just going to make the plant ultimately stronger. So it will also hopefully help them get a little bit healthier, to not be having to try to maintain as tall of a plant. So essentially what we're going to do is I put just a little bit of potting mix down here at the bottom. I gave it a little bit of moisture, not a ton, because I don't want them to be in too wet of a situation. And so I just have it so that it's not super dry. And then I will water them with a little bit of a weak fertilizer, organic, once I get it in the pot. So we're going to squeeze this, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Got so many roots going on in here. And then gently pull it out. And look at all those roots. Good gracious. Now, they're still healthy. They're still a nice light color. They're not completely like circling around, but you can see this poor baby has completely filled up its pot with its roots. And so we need to give it more potting mix to root ratio to let it get a little healthier. So you can see I'm putting it down deep into the pot here. And then I'm just going to add potting mix around, kind of tamp it down just a little bit, get this more stable. And I'm going to take this potting mix pretty close up to the top. I want to take it, you don't want to make it completely level because then when you water it, water can run off. So we'll leave it a little bit below the top. But now that gives this poor little baby a lot less stem to try to maintain, and hopefully we'll start to see some branching coming off of here, some leaves, but also start seeing it growing up. So gonna do this with a whole lot more plants. And then I want to get, once the peppers are done, I'll bring out my tomatoes that I haven't potted up yet and use the 3.5-inch containers to get those potted up. Same basic idea though. I will be burying the tomato plants as far as I can because also they will grow roots, and especially with tomatoes that can get quite large, like 6 to 8 feet tall, you definitely want to get as much of this buried and developing roots as you can with a tomato plant, because that's going to help give it something substantial below ground to help support that 6 to 8 foot tall tomato plant. All right, we'll be back when it's time for the tomatoes.